Join Haku EDC as we look at the Roxon Companion and compare it to other pocket multi-tools. After carrying the Roxon Companion for 86 days now alongside other tools, this is going to be a comprehensive review which will help you decide whether to choose the Companion over other pocket tools. We will evaluate tools from Victorinox, Leatherman, Osimoke, Olight, and Roxon tools. Generally speaking, I carry this Roxon Companion in my EDC, but I also carry this pack here, which right now I have like different tools in, or 4 different tools in, and I switch off the tools that I carry. And so when I'm trying this one out, the Roxon Companion, I can try out like this Leatherman or these Swiss Army knives or whatever I have in this little pouch. And I'll demonstrate the Roxon Companion features and modularity. Then we'll see how it compares. I will have 3 sections. That there's a black section, a stainless steel section, and a red section. Note, this review is both unsponsored and self-funded. Everything that you see here are things that I purchased. Finally, I'll give you my opinions on the cons, pros, and recommendations for the Roxon Flex. So let's get things started. Well, what does modular mean? In this case, the modular means for the Roxon Companion is that all of the implements are able to come out. They're all able to lock, but if you look at this here, if you push this back further, you will see this piece here sort of come out, and then you're able to just pull out any of the pieces that you have here. Here's another one. And then you can replace these with any number of pieces. This is my box of additional and other implements, of which they're close to 60, if I remember correctly. We'll just look in here. And if you can see here, you may be able to see a number of the possibilities of things that you can put in. So they come out rather easily, and I'll just put these back in so that you can see right here. And what I'm going to do is, that one's in there. And you have to remember that with this particular blade, which is the D2 blade, there's a left side and a right side. So if you're a lefty, you can also get your own, and it comes back in. Flick that up. It is now locked. If you want them to come out one at a time or has group, you can do that. Lock them. Push down to unlock. So a lot of it is one-handed, and then if you want to lock them all in place, you just press that up and they're all locked in place, except for the locking 1/4-inch adapter. So that's why this is so modular, to be able to just exchange what you want to have inside of these 5 slots. Now let's go to what we would call the black, silver, and red comparisons. Let's look at what I'm calling the black section here. And just to get you orientated a little bit, this is a Leatherman Free K2. This is a Roxon KS2 Elite. This is an Article KS. This is next tool E1. And of course, this is the Roxon Companion. I'm going to start off with the Leatherman. And I'm going to quickly state that this is a decent tool. Even if it was a K4, it would have some additional tools that would make it much more competitive. This is kind of a belt tool that you put on your belt. I think it's actually too heavy to put on your pocket, and that's the one thing that would drive me nuts, is just the weight of this. 5.7 ounces, or 144 grams, is 120 grams. or 4.23 ounces. So there's, almost a 20% difference in weight alone. The knife on here, the 440 HC, is a very good knife. It is somewhat comparable to the D2 that's on here. I don't think that it's meant for much more of those delicate things that you can do with the D2. They both do one hand opening, obviously, and one hand closing. I think that this is kind of a different category. This is much more of a, maybe you could say bushcraft, but I think that this is much more of what I call the hunter-gatherer knife type. These two are essentially the same, the Roxon KS2 Elite and the Article KS2. When Roxon started making this shape, it was basically this KS2 blade, which has, I stated earlier, Roxon seems to be increasing their quality, and this D2 blade on the KS2 Elite really made a big difference. Comparing the blades, let me set this up to side, are going to be slightly different. While these are both D2 blades, this D2 blade is more like the older blade. And this one has a little bit more of a sheepskin piece, nor are these able to be reversed. So you have stated earlier, you can get a left or a right-handed blade for that just because of its modularity. That's a big advantage for those who are lefty. Now they do lock. On the back side, they have the exact same thing, which is a very nice pair of scissors. And these scissors cut well. And I'll just quickly show you a little segment of them cutting. They do what I call a homage to the Swiss Army knives by putting a tweezer in the little handle here. Now, let's say that you want to use this as a screwdriver of some kind. This comes with it, the KS2 Elite, or you can buy this for $10. And this comes with a number of bits here. Oops, let me put this on here to show you. It goes in here. It does hold well. And then you get your 4mm. Put the 4mm there, and you can just screw things. That is a real big advantage. So that's the Ortico or Olight, and this is the Roxon. Both of these are good, what I call entry-level tools. I think that the KS2 Elite, people should look at that if they want to compare something to a Huntsman or Fillmaster or even Farmer X, what we're calling the black section. I think overall, if you wanted something that just had a really good knife on it, and then everything else was secondary, the KS2 Elite would be what I would use. And if I needed something that was really rugged, bush crafty wise, I think that I would get this in a free K4 or 2X. When I'm thinking about comparing something to this. But just always remember, these tools you can get that are interchangeable. And if there's these tools, like on the Roxon KS2, are your major tools, and you don't need other tools per se, then this might be a better situation for you, just because there is less likelihood of needing to adjust things. Now let's go to what I call the silver tools next. I want to remind people that everything that you see are things that I've purchased. If you're interested in any of these items that you see here, there'll be links in the description. And if this content is something that you like, please subscribe, and I'll be coming back to this content or similar things in the near future. But On the silver section, just let me tell you what we have. Obviously, this is the Roxon Companion. This is the Roxon Flex. This is the Victorinox Farmer X. This is the Leatherman Free T4, and this is the Mossy Oak, I think 11 and 1. People will ask themselves when they're thinking about the Roxon Flex is, do I need a pair of pliers? And that's the question that you need to answer for yourself. But if you need a pair of pliers that are modular, there are really only two options. One is the Gold Tools option, and the other is the Roxon Flex option. The other options that are out there are let me say, when I've seen them use them, are not quite right for prime time. The Roxon Flex allows you to have many more different tools and tool sets, many different blades that you can put on it. And so that gives it an advantage over the Gold tools, in my estimation. That's one of the advantages. So one of the advantages to the Flex itself is that more implements are possible. And you can have more long implements on the Flex than on the Companion. The question is not just if you want to have plier heads, but the question is, do you need to have more tools? And if the answer is no, that you don't need to have more implements, and you want to just carry something light around, there are pliers that you can easily pick up and use. There are some, the Flex, once again, allows you to have more implements. It comes with a plier heads, and the difference in price is not significant. Let's go to the Farmer X. The Farmer X is one of my favorite Victorinox. It is the one that I have used for everyday carry for quite a while. And then before then, I would carry a Huntsman or a Fillmaster. It's a very good tool. It comes with blades, once again, on the Roxon Companion. That D2 blade is better than pretty much anything long term than the Victorinox. But all the other implements on here are going to be better. But you don't get a 1/4 inch driver there or a really nice locking blade. So locks and also the just makes this a superior tool in many instances. The Free T4 is a nice implement. You get a very nice knife here, and you get a whole series of tools that can be done one-handed. Now, some of these tools are good but not great, and I think that's a matter of how you're going to use them. This is a good scraping tool. It also can be used as a screwdriver. I'm not very fond of it. It works okay, but I'm not very fond of the files on these. I mean, they're okay, better than average. And then on the other side, you get scissors that are slightly below average. You get an awl that is okay, a bottle opener. But once again, just like on a lot of Leathermans, you can pick up this third-party piece, put this in a screwdriver, and now somewhat magnetic or it'll hold, and then you can literally put any 1/4 inch one that you want here, and you have a 1/4 inch piece that is locked and working. So if you want something that locks like this one does, this has slightly better, in my estimation, cutting tools, slightly better, in my estimation, bottle opener, but not can opener, then the Roxon Companion is for you. If you want something with a better warranty, long-term use, the Free T4 is going to be for you. And you can add something to this so that you can make this a 1/4 inch driver. This one is probably the Mossy Oak 11 and 1, and there's other companies that make something similar to this. Yahoo makes something similar. This Rocktol has something similar to like this, but it has this long blade, which is I think a 12C blade. It's not quite as good, but it's longer and it's going to be a little bit narrower. And I think when I've used this, it's been a little slicier. But as I said, this is out of the box the most similar because you have a 1/4 inch driver here. And while it doesn't lock, it's got a really strong detent. Decent scissors. Oops, knife on the side, scissors, decent scissors. And these scissors, you have to make sure that you put it all the way back to the locking position for it to work well. And the spring-loaded piece, and it does cut well. And I'll show you a little piece about how it cuts. I think that these two cut approximately the same. Maybe this one's a little bit better. These cutters are pretty darn old. They've been used a lot, and I just think they need to be resharpened. These here implements are not a joke, but pretty darn close. You get your can opener, you get a little bit of a scraper driver. You can use this, has an awl. They're okay, but I would not buy this for these particular items. In fact, there are people that actually just take these off and then just use the blade, the scissors, and the 1/4 inch driver. Has, I stated earlier, a little magnet in here to make sure that all the 1/4 inch bits will work, including your Leatherman bits. This of everything that we've seen, this is the only one that is in the generally the $20 range. Everything else is $35 and above. Some of them as much as $80, depending upon where you get them from, and that's USD. So we've just gone through the Roxon Flex, the Farmer X from Victorinox, the Leatherman from Mossy Oak 11-in-1. So if you're considering this, be sure to look at these. If the modularity piece is of less importance. Once again, if you're looking for something that has a plier set, the Roxon Flex is worth the effort to get. So now we're going to go on to the red zone. We're in the red zone now, and the red zone obviously means Swiss Army knives. And I have three. I just want to remind you of two things. One is that he's carrying the Roxon Companion. I would put that in my normal EDC pouch, but when I carried any other knives, I would put them in this pouch here, and I could carry 3 or 4 at a time. And that gave me the ability to use these alongside here. It's also really hard to film stuff as you're working. I've got some films for using these, but not a lot. And I'll show you some of those if you haven't seen them already. So we already know what's on here and what you can put on here. There's a whole bunch of options to put on here. What I did was I picked out 3, and one of them was a mistake, and I'll tell you why it was a mistake, but I did it anyway. This here is your Victorinox Fillmaster, and the Fillmaster is a really good device. If you know about the Huntsman, it is the Huntsman, but has a Phillips screwdriver right here instead of the corkscrew. It also comes with your very nice saw, scissors, 2 knives, and the opening layer. I'm just going to leave that out for now. Because this was the Huntsman, I thought about, I should do a film mess. I should get a Huntsman. And I grabbed this particular one because on the back here I saw, oh, it's a Huntsman. And I did not look at it closely. It is something that I literally had just gotten, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago, or maybe 6 weeks ago, about at the beginning of this year, and it wasn't labeled. I usually would put it in a little container. This is a Wenger Forest, and this is a very nice device, but it's no longer being made. You can only get it on the secondary market, and it's smaller. This is 85 millimeter versus I think the 93 millimeter. And it comes with pretty much everything that you would see on a Huntsman. It's got your opener layer, and I think that, just to be upfront, I consider the Wenger can openers much better. You can't do any really prying or screwing with it, but opening a can, much better. It also comes with a nice saw. This is the saw of the Wenger versus the sack, and as you can tell that the sack is going to be a little larger because it is a little larger device. It comes with scissors, and the scissors here are really interesting. On, if people don't know, if you look really closely at the Wenger scissors, there's a little serration on them, and with that serration, it does cut some things just a hair differently or better than what you would get from a normal Swiss Army knife. There's usually a spring there, and this is what the spring looks like. There we go. So you can see the spring is slightly different on the scissors. This is a Wenger Forest. The back layers are just two of them. It's got a little awl here, a little very pointy awl, and your corkscrew. That's what it has. So that's what that looks like compared. This is a Ranger, and a Ranger saw and knives are not going to be any different size than this, but I just want to compare the saw sizes so that you can see that difference and how they look. When trying all three of these saws out in the wilderness, the Victorinox saw was the better of them, but the Roxon saw was a little different, but it did work well. And I enjoyed using it, and it's not something that I would not hesitate to use if I needed to use it. On the knife part, obviously the D2 blade is going to be much better. Okay. And just to compare the blade sizes of it, this is the Wenger one, which is about the same size blade lengthwise. The blades on the sacks are going to be just a hair longer, and I think that they're just a hair longer because the whole knife is just a little bit longer. It's a couple of centimeters longer or millimeters longer. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the knife is longer. But you can't, this is a D2 knife. It's better than the Victorinox knives. Although I think that the Victorinox knives come sharper out of the box. But you also need to sharpen them more. And you can resharpen them up. The one reason why I bought the Ranger is because it has all those other pieces: knife, scissors, saw, two blades, opening layer, but it also has a nice file. It's a three-sided file there and there. This file here is better than pretty much any of the files that you can put on this, except for the long diamond file. That diamond file, if you were to put it on here, would be as good in some ways as this is. If you were, for instance, that the diamond file, you could use that to sharpen your knives. This one, yeah, no, not really. You can make them very, but you can actually cut with this one. Whereas the other ones, you can cut with it, but not as good at this particular piece. Let's say that you want to cut a small piece of plastic. This could do it. The big reason why I brought this along is because if you were to pull out this little screwdriver piece here, because none of these can replicate your 1/4 inch. if you're to pull this out, you could use this one right here, which we've used before, put it in here, you can lock it down, and now you have a 1/4 inch driver. And you can even crank it down pretty hard. You could put an adapter on it, and you could drive some millimeter bolts and things in and out, and that would make it more accessible, much more closer to what you would get with this. Now, the Ranger, and if you were to buy this with it, you're going to spend $90 to get all the pieces here. With that, you're going to spend much less, maybe about $65, $70 to get all the things there that you would need or want. But this is really a great option in SAC, this Ranger. So now you have the Ranger, which is the closest to the Roxon Companion. I still say if you want something that's versatile, and something where you can take out the blade, be TSA compliant, then and get much better long-term blade, the Roxon Companion is going to be better for you. If you want something with a lifetime warranty, you break a blade, you break some, let's say that you break a blade. Here, you would have to send it back to Victorinox, and then they would put on a new blade and do some cleanup and repair. Here, you could literally go and buy another blade, buy another D2 blade or scissors or whatever you needed to have. And those are now, they're all $15 or less, $10. Some of them are $5, just depending upon what implement that you want to have here. So you're paying for a little bit better quality out of the box, less need to structure things. It's structured for you, and then you have this one here that you can pick and choose what you want. So that's red versus the Roxon Companion. Now, well, here we are. After 80 plus days of comparing the Roxon Companion with multiple other tools, I just want to remind you that everything that you saw are things that I purchased with my own money. This is sponsored by me, Haku Dude, and these are my opinions, which are based upon my usage of these items. What I'm going to do now is talk about the cons, the pros, and recommendations. First off, I just want to be very quick to and say, I like this tool. It is a very good tool. If you're thinking about buying Swiss Army knife, Leatherman, some of the Gerber armbar, Mossy Oak Rocktol 11-in-1s, check this thing out. You may like it. I'm going to go over some cons, and these cons are interesting but important. One of the cons that I have found is if you're moving tools around quite a bit or changing them in and out, the tension on this becomes different each time that you do it. Right now, I've got it set up so it is okay tension, but sometimes the tension can get very tight and nothing will come out, or so loose that things just fall out. When you're changing things up, it's always good to have like a little T8 adapter with you. It does come with a T8 adapter, but just have something around that you can use to tighten or loosen things up if you're trading pieces in and out. So that's one thing to be aware of. The second thing to be aware of is that there's only 5 slots here, plus the 1/4 inch adapter. These 5 slots mean there's only basically 5 implements that you can put in there. Some implements that you may want to use take up 2 slots, and there's a few of those. And I'm not going to go through them all, but I'll just let you know, like something like this with the tweezers, the pin, and the PIN, it takes up 2 slots. This might be something that if you're a traditionalist Victorinox carrier, you may want to have these things. You may want to use a T-shank. You may be in a place where you're going to have to cut plastic pipe or wood or something. So this T-shank takes up a couple of spots. And as I stated earlier, you're going to need a T8 around you. And let's say you have two of these and one of them has a T8 well, the T8 takes up two slots. So just be aware of that. If there are tools that you really want to have take up multiple slots, I just tell people just get the Flex because you have many more slots on it than on the Companion. The third thing is it is really a 3A and 3B. Because of the shape of this and the clip, it gets really hard, strange to put inside of a pouch or a pocket. Most things want to have this a little bit smoother. If you look at the Victorinox, it is a little smoother. Now the Leathermans are going to be bigger, so it's a different issue, wider, so that's going to be a slightly different issue. But let's say that you're using the Mossy Oak or Rocktol 11-1. They're going to also be more rounded. When I put those inside your pocket, there's a tendency to stay in that location. With this tends to slip if anything else is in your pocket, or it fits really weirdly with molly straps inside of a pouch. That's really the third thing that I think are negatives about it. So just be aware of that. The pros, which sort of go against some of the negatives, are that it is modular. Please, in the comments, tell me a tool that is this small, that has this many implements on it, and has a 1/4-inch adapter built in, and having all the tools lock. I just think that that's a wonderful piece that gets taken for granted, is that all the tools will lock. The other pro is that because it is modular, you can take out the blades or other sharp things, and then you can make this a TSA compliant device. The third thing that I'm going to talk about is that the price of the implements. All these implements here in front of you cost anywhere between $5 to $10. That makes the modularity really something to hold on to this tool about. I've gone through the cons and pros. I'm going to go through like recommendations. The recommendations that I see is change up the pocket club just a little bit to make it fit things. Offer a different blade type. While this is a D2 blade, and that D2 blade is better than blades on most pocket tools, it still can be a better blade. When you look at Rocktol offering the SV35Ns, the VG10 blades for $30 and I think $20 difference, I think someone might want to spend $20 to $30 more for a better blade on this. The other recommendation, and I think that this is going to be an interesting one because I tend not to go in this direction, but it would be interesting to have this in some other color besides black. Having a couple other colors might be to its advantage. Now, this last one is one, the blade color is one that I just think might be helpful to other people. I'm fine with this color. I just know a lot of people want colors that match their profile. So this is 80 days worth of this Roxon Companion. I did a whole bunch of tests with a whole bunch of different tools, implements. I've tried pretty much every implement here. If I missed something that you would like me to like compare to, please leave it in a comment below. I love to have your comments. I love to have you subscribe because I want this channel to grow. I would love your likes. This is Haku EDC. I'll see you in the future.